Hello people, and welcome back to part 37 of Ilos and modded Cities Skylines build. Hope you're having a wonderful day. I also support last week when we had a little play with some solar plant ideas, and let's just enjoy this view to the downtown now that the main Glendale Mar grid project is pretty much complete. Just that huge sprawl up to the height. I think we've really managed to hammer home the Phoenix vibe, haven't we? Do let me know what you think of it down in the comments as to whether or not we're sort of resembling something close to Phoenix here. I really hope we are. But yeah, very much enjoying our desert build, of course. However, in today's episode, I would like to make an attempt at a very distinct type of Southwestern American build. And this is going to be a casino sort of reserve, if you like. These places are littered all across kind of Nevada and Arizona. And they're just casinos in the middle of the desert with a highway interchange, a vast amount of car parking, and usually some sort of service assets like a food court or petrol stations out that way too. These are very quirky builds, and of course in order to hammer home the vibe we need to head over to Google Earth. So there's some nice inspiration, especially outside of Vegas in Nevada, that we can look at today. Otherwise, let's head over to Google Earth and see what we're working with today. Okay everyone, welcome to Nevada. I believe for the first time, well, I guess the second time because we did Area 51 in Nevada, didn't we? But yes, welcome to Nevada for inspiration. So fans of Fallout New Vegas will recognise some of the names here like Prim and Goodsprings. I had a very big sort of fangirl moment when I found Goodsprings here. I don't know if this is based off of the one in the game. No idea, it could be. But some really nice inspiration here for another rural build whenever we want to come do one in Ilos, so we'll definitely bear Goodsprings in mind. And then yeah, we have the highway flowing through the desert. Also, just a random side note here, we missed a bunch of solar panel inspiration in Nevada for our last build. Look at all this. Crazy, right? Just out in the desert, these huge solar fields. And then a golf course for some reason. What the hell? Why is this here, right? We are in the middle of nowhere here as well. Just in case you need to pull over and have a quick round of golf, then of course you can, right? Welcome to the southwest of America, everyone. However, what we are focusing on today is this little area called Gene, where we can take several points of inspiration from the highway interchange ramps. I guess, yeah, just little slip ramps on and off, aren't they? Lots of car parking, indeed, our sort of hotel and casino resort that we'll be playing with quite a lot today. There's also a skydiving centre over here, for which I don't really want to set up another airport area. But what we certainly could do is to use the aviation club in something of this style, as a little skydive sort of centre. And then across the road there is gas stations, and I'm guessing this is like a roadhouse, I think it's called. To my understanding, this is something like a food court. There's like different brands here you can come and get. Looks like there's a White Castle inside, and sort of other little bits and pieces, and a vast amount of fuel over here. Right, these aren't parking spaces. This is all for petrol. So, some really unique, cool inspiration to take from Nevada today in order to build one of these kind of weird in the middle of the desert casino reserves. So let's see what we can do with our first ever modded desert casino build, shall we? Okay, so let's first of all have a little look where we actually are in Ilos here. So during this little country road ages ago when we built the little municipal airfield, also the rural town over this side. So we do have this little rural road we can make use of. And then also off the back of Imperator's single point urban interchange, we also have another connection out here now, which of course can be used to get people to and from this area. But we also want to develop a new highway interchange. So I'm going to move it, we're going to basically grab just nodes for the time being. Thanks to Eggsy's wonderful highway work, all of the nodes are perfectly aligned. And let's come, we're going to elevate more than we need to for the time being. I'll just bring these guys up just until we see that little rock texture start to expose itself. That's kind of a good barometer to me as to a nice happy height. And that's going to be tremendous, isn't it? Let's go ahead and grab one of our two-way roads now, and then we'll go pretty much in the middle here. Snap onto this guideline, and then we'll do Anarchy on as well, of course. And we'll come off the guideline as we head through here. I guess we can do 23 right there, that's going to be grand. And then let's just bring these up until we know exactly what's going to happen with them, because the ramps are going to have to be factored in here too. And then let's use our friend Fine Road Tools in order to upgrade these sections into bridges. And that should give us more than enough clearance for the road underneath. Let's Splendid and tremendous. Then of course, once we have our set elevations in, a little bit of softened terrain is always welcome for making these little interchanges fit in nicely. Of course, a little bit of network multi-tool will be needed here as well, but we'll do that once we have our highway ramps in. Fantastic, cool. So with this road here, let's just kind of draw it out more than it needs to be, so we have a sort of base frame connection for the ramps to come onto. And then these highway ramps, they're really not symmetrical at all. If anything, it's almost like they're bending around the casino. So we'll see what we can do here. So why don't we come from the top of this ramp here, we'll bring it nice and close. And then it does have a fair amount of curve to it. It's not sort of a straight road by any means. We'll have that one there. And then we'll bring it in. And then connect it into there. Should be a good shot for me. And of course we'll do some quick lane maths as well. We're going to upgrade the final few sections of this road into 2-lane highway. And then we can do little nuances of node controller out here. If we need to. Again, just sort of seeing what's in Google Earth, and I'm happy with that. We'll then have highway ramp come and hug nice and close. And it can connect in of its own accord. Fantastic. Cool, so lots of little node controller ideas will be welcome in these sections. Let's go ahead and square everybody off. Plenty of intersection marking tool as well today in order to get these to look at how they function. That's splendid. Definitely don't want the traffic light here either. Okay, just let it go. Everyone's going to be happy with that. And it's essentially just the same process on the other side, right? So if we find this node here is the one that we should be connecting into, there we go. Let's do the same process on this side now. Bring it down a little bit. Copy those curves that you see in Google Earth. We'll connect it in. Of course, this is an exit ramp, so those last few sections we'll do as 2-lane. Again, we can get that very straight slip ramp back in with little freeform curves that are going to make themselves known. And then we can squeeze back into the highway on that point. Of course, lots of node controller and move it needed to make this look good. But at least now we have that in, right? It's going to be a happy time for me. Let's have a little look at network multi-tool. Let's go for a bit of network multi-slope. And we'll see if we can get them up to these spaces. That seems like it's going to be alright for me, I think. We can select the right node. Cool, that should be a slightly nicer descent back down, I think. Yeah, just those slip ramps need to be sorted now so we don't get the dimensional tearing. But this will give us sort of a baseline highway interchange out in the desert. Again, inspiration to be taken from Nevada, as and when needed. And then those same little node control ideas can also come back in on this side as well. And of course, lots of IMT to be had during the design time-lapse today. Splendid, that's a highway interchange. Let's go ahead and just connect this one up for the time being. Not entirely sure what's going to lie out this side of Ilos just yet, but we'll get there eventually. It really depends on the node count, and because this isn't really a priority area, we have to make sure that the nodes are available. We could certainly do some larger projects out of this space, but certainly a more rural part of the map, which Imperator's farmland is actually helping with immensely, isn't it? You know, Imperator's build a few weeks ago. Just, yeah, nails home the vibe, doesn't it? Cool, so that's our highway interchange configured. Let's now have a look at the vast amount of car parking that is present in these sites. Okay, so for the car parks here, I'm actually going to return to the wonderful world of big parking lots. Just because of the shapes of these car parks, parking lot roads is not going to lend itself well to it. So we're going to return back to the old faithful, right? It's nice to be back. We love parking lot roads. This is the greatest car parking mod. So good. So what I'm going to start by doing is drawing in a frame of border roads using big parking lots. Then we're going to come across with a road guideline. Ideally, I'd like to snap to this one. That looks like it's going to align there perfectly. Yes, it does. Wonderful. And then we'll come back up by, say, 39. Of course, sticking in measurements of 3 with these roads is always ideal. And then this one will bring us back to 61. That's enormously irritating. Right, we should be able to make it work. A little bit and move it, or surface painter will fix that 1 tar difference. Alright, but that's our main frame, isn't it, if you like. So let's now grab ourselves some of the filler roads. I'm going for the black asphalt here too, because that's what it is in Nevada. There's just black asphalt everywhere. Tremendous, that's great. So we'll also add in... no, we don't want a drive road here actually. This is where we'd like a filler, if at all possible. Yeah, that should be good for us. So in terms of the casino assets, I would actually like to use the casino from the base game. Or After Dark, I think, isn't it? The unique building. So I want this here just for the sort of aesthetic of the casino sign. So even now from the highway, it's almost like it's free advertising, right? They've orientated the sign to face all this traffic that would be coming through this space. That's going to be wonderful. We're also playing with some new hotel assets from the workshop. These are King Leno's, I believe. We have the Hotel Hilton, which is a really nice looking asset. Okay, so you know you can enjoy the casino and all the vibes it has to offer. And then there's also hotel accommodation on site as well if needed. So that's going to be quite nice. So as always, the orientation and positioning of our main assets is always crucial. So we're going to have our casino sort of sat on the corner of the car park here. Maybe even actually sort of facing this way might be more appropriate. You could even get the filler road over the thing actually if you wanted to. But I don't think I do want to do that. We did that with the casino on the waterfront. So we'll try something a little different here. Right, we'll have that there. Now this hotel does come with some wonderful pool detail on the back of it, which is always appropriate. So I'm thinking if we can maybe position a couple of these hotel assets together like this, we should be having quite a nice time, I think. Now, it looks as though in Nevada there's actually sort of two hotel complexes together. So I'm thinking if there's possibilities for finaglable hotel shapes, why don't we see if we can position this one so it looks as though it's kind of part of the building. Maybe there's direct access into the casino from the hotel. I don't think that's totally out of the realms of possibility, is it? So we'll have that one there. Then with that theme in mind, we'll use Move It to duplicate the asset. And then if we can just piece these two together without them freaking out and losing their minds with that texture. So that is a little bit of a shame, isn't it? But we'll see what we can do to remedy that. I'm thinking it's probably just going to be a case of not being able to finagle them together, is it? And just allowing that grass space to remain between. Which can either be, of course, fenced away or something else can be done with it. But as a general shape and a complex and a facility now, that just sort of stands alone and in the desert, I'm getting more and more on board with the kind of the casino reserve ideas, okay? I think it's nice, isn't it? Certainly a distinct vibe, this sort of build, but I think we can pull it off together. Cool. So now what we'll do is we'll keep our filler roads coming through sort of the entire complex itself, so we'll have that one through there. And then we'll place in some of our car parking. We're going to go ahead and grab another filler road for this. One stop closer, isn't it? There we go. Now this mass repeatable pattern should give us everything we need to make this car park look somewhat authentic to what we're looking at in Arizona, in Nevada. I'm going to call Nevada Arizona all the time today, by the way. Just get ready for that one. Yeah, so now we can really begin to fill out that black asphalt in front of all this sort of infrastructure, can't we? Cool. It's a very weird sensation leaving this much car parking available for these assets, but it's what's in Nevada, so we'll respect it. Cool, so I'll go ahead and get all this car parking hooked in, and then we can have a look at some of the other little facility sites that are around this highway interchange too. And I think just to help finish off these car parks, we're going to grab ourselves a little planter. Just saving some room in between each of the little 5 sort of car parking spacer assets. Let's go ahead and find a palm, perhaps, one of our favourite Californias. That should be quite welcome. And then we'll also grab a light here as well. So of course the big parking lots at night time are dark. They do have to be manually lit. And I think we can use one of our favourite lights. Maybe we'll go ahead and grab one of our parking lot lights. And then we can just use this little theme now. Let's go ahead and grab props, trees, and that should be it actually. That should be all we need. Yeah, and then we can just place this around our car park now in several different spaces. And then this should light up all of our car parking spaces for us. And of course we can come with little bushes and detail these during our detail time lapse. But we'll get a general impression of the facility now as it starts to sit around here, okay? Where it's a really odd vibe. Again, if anything, Ilos has forced me out of my comfort zone to have so few buildings. Obviously they're high capacity, but to be surrounded by so much car parking is pretty insane. So yeah, got some spaces coming in now. People are starting to filter in, which is good. So I'm generally happy with this sort of concept for the time being. Of course, plenty of work still to be done during the time lapse, of course. Okay, so let's see what's happening over here. So again, there is more car parking, of course, but for this one, I think I'm going to move a little bit more back into parking lot roads. So we'll have a couple of different styles here today. So let's just drawing some general service shapes. We'll bring this one up here as well. I like to connect in and then bring this one down. And then what we do have here is a truck stop. So I do need to kind of go ahead and download a few more assets off of the workshop. Definitely some kind of truck props as well. But what we do have in our current asset collection is these little Smith petrol stations, which we've seen, of course, just a second ago in Nevada. Okay, so I think we can get away with these. So I think that's what we'll do. We're going to place them in using our service road. And then if we go ahead and grab 3 of them, let's make sure that we also bring this one up so we know where we're finishing. Go ahead and move these over into the corner a little bit. And then can we go for a 3rd? Would that be too daring? I think we might be okay. Yeah, that's exactly how it looked in Nevada, right? And then if we do another little sort of wrap of service road behind that, any inconsistencies with the texture, of course, can be tidied up with our old faithful friend, the surface painter. Alright, it's not too bad, is it? Then let's come in to move it, and then we're going to grab these 3 again, but of course then we're going to, actually what we can do is just grab the 3 of them, and then hopefully we should be able to mirror the objects opposite the road. There we go, using move it. That's a wonderful little trick, isn't it? Saves you having to manually realign them yourself. Right. So I don't think that's too bad, you know, it's a lot of refueling capacity, but it's what we see in Nevada. And then of course we do have, I guess a roadhouse is like a little convenience store, isn't it? Sort of like a food stop. And we do have the Smith's jug, and because we're using the Smith's the Smith petrol stations here, we might as well use that one as well. But I don't just want it here, sat on the road by itself. Let's come back into our parking lot, friends. And then why don't we grab another little bit of surface road. I just want to make sure this is the broken down one, sort of the rougher looking cracked one. What's it called? Poorly maintained is the words I'm looking for. Again, we'll bring those up, and then let's go ahead and grab some poorly maintained parking. So with this one, the cars drive on the dark side of the road, so we want to make sure that we bring that in as well. Again, we'll just keep extending our frames until we know what's happening. We'll save a little bit of room for some detailing out the side, and then I'd like to place the Smith's store over this way. Okay, just a little bit of breathing room between all that infrastructure there. And then we can get those car parking spaces as well, so it looks like people can kind of park directly outside the store. And then we can do some other car parking spaces around the edge of the asset itself. Cool, so we'll get those up front. There's a possibility to bring in a little bit, no, I shouldn't bring in any grass here. There is no grass in this part of the city. We are super rural desert over this side. I do think maybe a little bit of gravel texture is welcome, just to help break up what is going to become a vast amount of concrete if we don't be careful. Alright, but you can certainly tell what it is, can't you? Again, we can almost have a little brief chat about some of the detailing palettes if we wish. Perhaps a repeated palm pattern would be welcome, if not, maybe a little bit too obvious. Let's go onto the prop line tool and see where we can set these guys up. Let's go for maybe sort of 3 of them here. Okay, it's not too bad, is it? Maybe some content creator grasses I think would also be welcome. Around this space. Let's turn that down a little bit, that's a lot of content creator grass. Let's also reinstate our palm that we just lost. Okay, it's on its way, isn't it? Again, super weird. Super weird to piece all this stuff together, but it is what we are left with when looking at Google Earth, of course. And then yes, of course, I would actually like some supplementary sort of customer car parking for the people here. So again, we'll stick to parking lot roads for this one. Let's go for a poorly maintained number. Now, can we fit in here? Is this going to be happy enough? Can we possibly do this? I guess we won't really need this connection here now. And that's a little glitch, is it? Are we okay? Parking lot roads? Yes, we are. We're happy. And then again, let's just sort out our awkward spaces with a little bit of Surface Painter. A mod that is desperately needed in Cities 2, right? Lots of overgrowth and cactus detail to be had in there as well. And then maybe we can also prepare some sort of delivery area around the back of the Smiths. So we can get some sort of trailer props in there. Okay, plenty more sort of industrial chain link fencing around the back of the store. Okay, so we can prepare that with a little bit of Surface Painter too. There we go. Tidy up any nastiness that we don't like. There we go, so we get into the street view now. We tidy up that very small amount of Surface Painter. We should hopefully be piecing together the vibe. It's kind of on its way, isn't it? I don't want to speak too soon, of course the build could end up being horrendous yet, but it's what we see. I'm happy with it. These car parking spaces start to fill up around here now as well. This is great news. Lots of details of having these little concrete islands in the car park spaces as well. Yep, these ones started to fill up too. Yes, please. Yes, please. It's getting there, isn't it? And big parking lots is so good for this as well. It's like wrapping parking around assets. It's very, very satisfying. And Imperator did a wonderful job of this over in these spaces with the IKEA and stuff. Very tastefully done by Imperator, as always. Okay, so I'm just enjoying some of the nighttime spices here, and it's settling in. You can tell this is one of those builds where Egg is constantly indecisive for 90% of the video before we get to the end, and I'm like, you know what, that's alright. It's definitely one of those builds. Yeah, just some all angles now as we sort of enjoy it against the sort of mountain backdrops of the desert. It is very much hitting those Nevada vibes that we saw in Google Earth. I'm on board with it so far, I think. Cool. So now let's come to work on the other side of the highway. So the builds this side aren't going to be nearly as sort of grandiose as the casinos. Oh yes, this road's getting used now as well. Yes, please. Turn the traffic light off though. So a little bit of node controller here to widen our friends out. Cool. Fantastic. So yes, the buildings here won't be nearly as sort of severe as dramatic as what's happening on the other side of the highway with casinos and sort of retail spaces and whatnot. But again, what we can see in Google Earth is a little bit of sort of highway patrol, right? There's a little sort of police station out here. We can get some police units in. So I think that's what we're going to go for. Go ahead and get some poorly maintained stuff on the go. And then again, I'd like to see if we can bring in some of these car parks with the one-sided parking on them. Let's come ahead and find a police station asset. I think this one's kind of most appropriate just for a little sort of highway patrol stop. I think this one's a little too metropolitan looking for it to be out in the desert, I think it is, so we won't go for that one. And then we do have another one, I believe. Yes, it's this one, isn't it? This is a police station. Yeah, there's one here. Okay, why don't we go for two then? Sort of make a little police highway patrol complex out of it. Maybe we can have this one at the entrance because it's got the little police sign on it. That'd be acceptable there. And we can have this one as sort of the main facility. Okay, it's not too bad, is it? Let's just bear with it for the time being. Hope everyone is constantly bearing with this episode because it's going to be needed. Then again, we've got those sort of offset parking spaces. So we can just place these around at the edge of the station. Just like so. Then little bits of surface painter where needed, of course. Bring our brush size up a touch. I think once we've got those car parks in, let's go ahead and grab the poorly maintained service road again. And then I'd like to draw in a little box with them. And then let's do a touch of surface painter in that as well. It's incredible how much surface painter adds to a build. Such a simple mod, but being able to create sort of larger concrete spaces is just fantastic. Right, and then if we were to place in a few police cars, we'll do these with our prop line tool, of course. Bring them down a little bit. That should be a little bit more, a little closer. There we go. Yep, so we'll just sort of get a general impression for it. Okay, let's get some police cars parked up here. What we could also do is give maybe like a little priority police only slipway back onto the highway here. I don't think that'd be totally against the rules, would it? If we bring it up alongside this way and just say, like, you know, there's sort of a faster access ramp for the police cars to get back onto the highway. If there's perhaps some sort of emergency, then they can make use of that. And I think just to help bring in those sort of poorly maintained vibes again, we will dive into the fantastic world of decals and then just dirty up a lot of this concrete with stains and whatnot, and we can possibly discuss the introduction of some fencing, for which I'm thinking perhaps actually chain link. Right, the old faithful is going to be best used here, isn't it? Let's take our vanilla assets as well, so we can use the better after dark one, or natural disasters one either. Okay, and that's a little chain link fence gate here. Perhaps more of the shed props from the European stuff. These are always welcome with sort of police themed builds, aren't they? Maybe get on in that point there. And we can maybe attach this onto the back side of it. Okay, so maybe where our police cars can come from. Maybe we can double that up. So you just move it to do it, be a little bit simpler. And then we'll align this up somewhere like that, I think. Cool. And then we can come back to that chain link fencing. And then complete the pattern that runs out this side and create like a little police yard next to the station, which just extends it out as, you know, something of a highway patrol stop for the police. Or maybe some of the alien covens have escaped and, you know, they radio through to the Western Highway Patrol stop and they're like, you know, aliens on the move, stop them. Whatever they say. Probably not that, right? But it probably wouldn't be that casual thing about an alien invasion, would they? So I'm generally happy with this. That's not too bad. Nice little configuration here. And then again, there's kind of one more little facility which we'll build together very briefly before we think about a detailing time lapse today. Come ahead and grab some more service road. Yeah, that's going to be good for me. And again, we'll draw this in. And thinking about brand exposure, we want to grab some of our retail here. I'm thinking I might actually just go with the IHOP. If I can find it. We do have one. Okay, maybe have this sort of facing out onto the road. Here's the slipway. Little advertising. Possibly even go for a few more of these as well if we want. I don't really want like the super modern looking ones though. Try to avoid those if we can. Maybe touch Burger King as well. Would Burger King be welcome here? Possibly. Definitely seems like the place for a Burger King, I think. And again, just position them against the highway. Now it looks like it's sort of placed there for advertising, doesn't it? It's like, you know, let's make sure we get the logos facing out onto the highway. This is definitely my old brand manager brain kicking in here. Did used to work in marketing, for those that don't know. Yeah, so I think we can get away with that, can't we? I think we can just do a similar process again of perhaps wrapping everyone up with a little bit of poorly maintained service road. Then let's bring it sort of behind like that, and then let's do a little touch of poorly maintained 22 meter. Bring these down. Let's do the node control trick here as well by turning them into a bend. Same over this side as well. And then close that offset so everyone's nice and tight. It squares off the car park. And again, we can do our car parking spaces there. Make sure this is all concrete painted up. Perhaps save a little bit of gravel concrete, or gravel detailing, not gravel concrete. Doesn't make sense, does it? To accommodate our little sort of fast food stop here as people come on and off the highway as they come in and out of Ilos. So it's quite a strange facility, but yeah, I think we've managed to create a vibe today. However guys, that does feel like a good place for a detailing time-lapse. There is a bunch of work to do today, including dirtying up all the concrete spaces with this scuffed, poorly maintained vibe, and also complete our police car decoration here today. I completely decorate the interchange with lots of desert overgrowths and bring in that dry desert belt that is now missing as we've been building in this area. Tidy up the rest of these car park designs, indeed light the rest of the car park, probably alongside some further prop detailing in and around the casino and hotel spaces. Quite happy with the way this is developing. And then again, just little details like this, little palm patterns, and oh yes, look at all the petrol stations getting used. That looks so nice. Yes, like it's all everyone's here getting petrol coming off the highway. Yeah, it makes it look really busy. Super happy with that. But yes, yeah, lots of little detail like that. Complete any car parking spaces that we have. Bring in some inner car park detailing, and just generally help create this very weird, what is essentially satisfying commercial demand build out in the desert. Yeah, and then just obviously tie off any sort of loose frames that are hanging around from our initial planning. And yeah, hopefully it'll settle in a little bit more. It still stands out like a sore thumb at the minute, but they kind of do in Nevada as well, so I need to sort of lose that prejudice, if you like. Alright, cool. So, let's detail the Ilos Casino Reserve, and then we'll be right back. Okay guys, so let's have a detailing review, shall we? Like I thought throughout this build, it needed a detailing time-lapse, and it sets in a lot better now. So around this side of the sort of smaller edge of the interchange, we have our little sort of, highway patrol station here right next to the highway, and then a little bit of IMT network fencing to run the duration of this country road back up to the municipal airfield that goes along the river. So really hammering home some nice sort of desert rural vibes over this side of the map now. You can sort of look back way into the city, which is miles away from here. Really happy with how it's turned out. Some gentle and appropriate IMT markings on the slip roads off the highway, again taken exactly from what we saw over in Nevada. So this gets a nice use too. Also got some signs in here, like a little gas station sign down there, then some more branding over this side, where we've also dropped in some sort of general delivery and service detailing around the back of the Smith store, just to help give it a little bit more purpose out this side, And I think we've kind of managed to bring home those vibes that we saw in June in Nevada. I don't think it's too dissimilar. Also got the radio mast in there as well. And then lots more natural, sort of lusher desert detailing like we see in, this is more Arizona, but it's a mix and match, I guess, isn't it? Upgraded the central road into a 4-lane road just to help with the lane maths. People coming and going from the highway, and this little slip system is working really nicely. There's not any major traffic backups here. It's another way in and out of Ilos for the Sims, which does now connect further up into Imperator's area, courtesy of this 6-lane road, which of course then feeds right back into downtown Ilos. I've also just thrown down the aviation club. Again, it looks a little bit underwhelming, but it's kind of what it does. In Nevada, there is just a really small airstrip next to the casino complex, so I'm happy to have it in there. It doesn't blend in too badly, especially when you're over here, but it's just, I think I kind of struggle with accepting there's so much empty desert space in the desert. I have no idea why. I want to try and fill things, but yeah, we just can't seem to. And then again taking inspiration as to what sort of tree line actually hugs the casino complex, and it is very leafy, very green, very live oaky, if you will. So I'm happy to bring in some of these vibes around here. And we've just got a really nice approach into this sort of casino complex now. I'm really, really happy with it. And then the casino complex itself has been finished off and fleshed out with its lighting design courtesy of the palms and the planters. And I do really enjoy the way that the two Hiltons sort of sit combined here, as though it is kind of part of the actual casino, unique over this side. So yeah, turned out super nicely, really quirky build, and definitely a type of build that Ilos needed. It's it's a real strange one, but I think I'm happy with it, and it's a nice another little sort of rural addition into Ilos's vast and endless highway networks that float all over the map. So it's nice to have some stuff sort of based around them, rather than everything being localized within the Margrid spaces at least. However guys, that is going to do it for today. I would like to thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, likes, comments and shares below really do help me out. Equally as much if you haven't enjoyed it, then please feel free to leave me a dislike as well. I've struggled with this build all episode, started it and I was like, it's really weird. It's a super unique style to pull off one of these little casino reserves that sit out across the southwest of the states. But I think we've managed to respect some of the vibes that we saw in Nevada especially, and it's a nice little bit of activity for the city outside of those main Margrid frames now. Please do hang around for some cinematics and check out this space as it sits. With the skyline so distant behind it, we should have a really fantastic nighttime view here. But otherwise I will shut up and I will leave it there. I'd like to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, enjoy the rest of your day.